morning, and thanks to everyone for being here. Again, I'm Councilwoman Amy Holton Stewart, District 25, and I'm joined this morning by Council President David James. We wanted to discuss Louisville Metro Corrections and the resolution that we intend to file this afternoon. Over the past several months, Louisville Metro Corrections has experienced one problem after another, all leading to unsafe conditions at the jail for both the inmates and the sworn officers and other jail staff. Over the past 12 months, 6 inmates have died while in custody of corrections, 5 of which have occurred since this past November. There have been days when Metro Corrections would run on a fraction of the manpower necessary for the jail to be considered safe. This is not new news to any of us, but an example would be the weekend, more specific, the day of September the 11th, 2021, that day when the normal shift should have been 50 officers. The jail operated with 18 officers for 1,640 inmates. There was no emergency contingency plan. When questioned during Metro Council's Government Oversight Committee on September 14th, 2021, about the conditions at the jail the previous weekend, Director Clark, who is a sworn officer, admitted that he did not show up to help his staff navigate the rough waters that past weekend. In my book, that's what leaders do. They step in, they are visible, they assist, and they work alongside the very people they are charged with leading. Instead, after speaking to numerous officers, morale is low among corrections employees, and they have little to no faith in the leadership that has been put before them. Staffing has been a major issue for many months, with officers being forced to work mandatory double shifts, affecting their health and their personal lives. We acknowledge how hard these officers have worked in such tough conditions through the last 2 years, including a pandemic. And without the support of strong leaders, it's no wonder so many officers are feeling forced to leave. Last year, corrections lost 70 officers, 50 of which were resignations, and they only gained 49. Currently, there are 153 vacancies in corrections. Where has the recruitment been? Another huge issue are drugs. Drugs are circulating within the jail, as we all know. On September 24th of 2021, 6 female inmates were sent to the hospital, and another 10 were observed in the jail for a mass overdose. Even outside of the jail walls, drugs are a problem. Just this past week, 3 home incarcerated individuals died of overdoses. This is the tip of the iceberg, as officers are charged with the burden of getting on their hands and knees to administer CPR and Narcan to save lives. And this happens on a regular basis. Because of the extreme drug problem, I proposed to Director Clark in November a resource for his jail of a new canine unit to detect drugs and cell phones. Metro Council passed this idea, and it was funded in mid-December. It is to be used as a tool and a resource for corrections to utilize to rid the jail of these drugs. But there has been no urgency, none at all, in leadership in pursuing the creation of this canine unit, which would obviously help rid the jail of this drug problem. All of this and more has occurred under the watch of Director Clark and his administrative team. It is the accumulation of many issues, many problems, and shortcomings that President James and myself, along with Councilman Mark Fox, that we are calling on Metro Council for a vote of no confidence in the leadership of the Department of Corrections, both Director Dwayne Clark and his executive staff.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for being here. Thank you, Amy. Today we're following a resolution that lays out a few things about Metro Corrections. And one of the things that it talks about is that September 28th, 2021, the officers of the Louisville Metro Corrections Department had a vote of no confidence in Director Clark's leadership, and a vote of 216 to 6. That they didn't have faith that Director Clark and his leadership team would be able to lead the Metro Narcotics Unit in a clear, efficient, and professional way. Director Clark has failed on for more than a year to aggressively address the issues of recruitment and retention within the Metro Corrections Department, which has led to the vacancy of 153 people that Councilwoman Holton Stewart just spoke about. There's also been failures of leadership, unprofessionalism, and just a lack of addressing the smuggling of narcotics into the jail, which has led to these deaths and many other incidents within inside the jail. A sense of urgency is needed. Now, you might hear the mayor and Director Clark talk about all the things that they're doing now. Oh, they've got a new contract, but we asked them to do that last year. And they may say that, oh, they're going to start talking to the Metro Council and weekly updates now. They should have already been doing that. And they may talk to you about all different sorts of things that they're going to do now. A new leadership team maybe to help out at Metro Narcotics. That should have already happened. We are losing our citizens inside of the jail. It endangers the lives of the people that are incarcerated, and it endangers the lives of our staff, our officers over there. And so when times come when the Metro Council has insisted, asked for, and begged for better leadership, more aggressive professional leadership at the jail, it hasn't been there. And so even at a time when Councilwoman Holton Stewart was trying to get a dog or two over there to help with the contraband issues, to help with the home incarceration program, there was great resistance to something that was actually going to help. And so this is the time where we have to stand up and say, the time is now. There's too little too late. A sense of urgency is needed to make our city better and to make our jail better. I'll give you a clear example. Director Clark decided for Class 130, which is the most recent recruit class to graduate from the Corrections Academy, to reduce it from 11 weeks to 6 weeks, meaning that they had 3 days of defensive tactics training. One of the officers was assaulted and his weapon was taken because he had 3 days of training. It's unacceptable. It's just unacceptable. And with that, I'll stand for any questions that you may have. We would like to see a sense of urgency from the mayor. We would like to see the sense of urgency from Director Clark on fixing the problems at the jail. And we also would like the mayor and Director Clark to understand that the Metro Council is paying attention. We don't have the power to remove Director Clark. Only the mayor has that power. We don't have the power to remove his staff. Only the mayor has that power. However, the mayor does have the power to remove them, and the mayor does have the power to hold them accountable. To be clear, I'm asking the mayor to remove Director Clark and his staff. He finally came back with an answer about that Friday, after he already knew that we were going to do this today. So the Director Clark sent over a list of things that they are going to start doing and that he is working on, that he sent over Friday. That includes technological improvements and cameras and things like that. But again, it was only because they knew we were going to have this vote of no confidence.
That he was going to ask for the next. One of the things that he mentioned in the brief that he sent us on Friday was that he intended to ask for these equipment upgrades in the next budget cycle. So we have that, before us. He also is asking for a new body scanner for the jail. And, those things, yes, we could look at, but I feel like we could have looked at them this past year instead of waiting another.
So I feel that some of these deaths could have prevented if we had enough manpower there. And so if Director Clark had taken the issue of recruitment and retention seriously, it's possible that we may have had enough officers on the floor to have seen what was taking place. You know, even when it comes to monitoring the contract for medical treatment at the jail, Director Clark isn't even holding the contract accountable. When is the doctor supposed to be there? All the time? Is he? No. And when a person is put on suicide watch, is there supposed to be a psychiatrist there? Ask those questions. Was there? Ask that question. There is no K-9 unit.
I reached out to Director Clark about 10 days ago and asked him what the status of the K-9 unit was and whether or not he had been actively involved in reaching out to the training facility that we had provided him. And at that point, he said no, he had not, to give him 10 days. He said give him 10 days and he would get back with me. Personally, I think it's very important for the leadership to connect with the officers and the jail staff. And I think there's a huge disconnect right now between leadership and the people that work for them. And I think it's very visible in what they've put out there in the press the last few months. I believe that we hear what the Corrections Lodge is saying to us. I've met with them privately. In fact, I think that if leadership would meet with their workers on a regular basis, that they might understand what some of the needs are. The idea of having a K-9 unit within the jail was grown organically between the officers and myself just by sitting down and talking about what their needs were in the jail and how can we solve this problem. So there's obviously a disconnect between leadership and the workers right now.
How do we get 150 new officers? Well, I would say that we should have started working on that 3 years ago when the council first started asking about it. So now we're in a place where the Metro Council appropriated $4.8 million for incentive pay to hire personnel in public safety arena. And the mayor announced on Friday that he's offering an $8,000 incentive for people to come and work on our public safety posts, whether that's corrections or police, EMS, Metro Safe in those areas. I think it helps that the mayor finally negotiated a contract with the Metro Corrections Department that raises their pay from $36,000 per year to $44,000 a year starting out. Those kinds of things will help, but it won't become an immediate fix. It's impossible to be immediate fix. It's something that should have been done by the leadership of Metro Corrections for years, and it wasn't. It was ignored. You'll even hear that they plan on having asking for equipment like bulletproof vests and flashlights for the officers now. We asked Director Clark about that before the budget last year, and he still didn't ask for it, to look out for the safety of his officers. Caring for the officers and safety for the officers, communicating with the officers is good leadership. I haven't seen that. So right now, our sense of urgency right now is that no other incarcerated residents die inside the jail. So I don't want to wait 334 days for a new mayor to decide we're going to try to protect citizens inside the jail or the officers inside the jail. We have listened, and we've offered many things for advice. I've spoken about many of them today. It's a matter of urgency with the administration, with Director Clark and his team, if they are going to decide that this is important or not, if the lives of our citizens are important, if the lives of our officers are important. Absolutely. I was very clear with the administration when it was going to take place. They asked me to hold off on it because we've been talking about doing this for quite some time, and they kept saying, well, wait a while. And in the meantime, people die. And it's we're done waiting.